quite generic. This is how power meter looks like. Most of the time, power meter has, in fact, all the time, it has three terminals coming out. One terminal is common, which is connected along with one of the other two terminals in parallel with the circuit or in parallel with the load in which you want to measure power. And the other two, which are not, other than the common terminal, the other two are connected in series with the load. Basically, what we are trying to do is we are trying to integrate the functionality of a voltmeter and the functionality of an ammeter together in a single assembly. So you have one coil acting as voltage coil or pressure coil, and the other coil acting as the current coil, which is in series with the circuit. The voltage coil or pressure coil is in parallel with the circuit. So the total torque generally the current coil is kept fixed and voltage coil is kept moving because it carries less current being in parallel with the load. So it is easier to make it move. It is purely an implementation based decision. So the total torque generated on the moving coil is proportional to the average power of the signal. It has been shown mathematically, and implementation is where you will see a lot of varieties. First of all, the symbol of a power meter is a circle with either W or P written in it. They are showing only two terminals. There is a third one also. You will see that soon in a diagram. Watt meters or power meters, both words mean the same thing. Power meter is a generic word, and watt meter means you are specifically talking about measuring the real part of the complex power. Analog and digital are the two varieties of power meters or watt meters. And the simplest one or the most commonly used one is the electrodynamics type of machine, where you are using the galvanometer concept, but more than one coil coming into the picture. Potential coil or voltage coil mean the same thing. Some people call it potential coil, some people call it voltage coil. Okay. We have some power meters in our labs. Someday you may see them as well. In general, for making things more practically useful, we have more than one current coil and more than one pressure coil. Although theory says you need only one of each, but to handle different ranges of powers, different ranges of voltages, different ranges of currents, we put in different coils. That is more practical. This is how the diagram is. Supply voltage connected to the load on the right side. In between, we put the power meter. FC means fixed coil, which is the current coil. And MC means moving coil, which is the potential coil or voltage coil. In series with the potential coil or moving coil, we put a high resistance to make sure that the current going in this coil is very small. And the fixed coil or current coil, of course, carries the main current. So that has to be built using thicker wires, while voltage coil has to be made with thinner wires. There are standard wire sizes available in the market. I'll talk about all that when we start talking about transformers. You cannot get any size you want in the market. Vendors have agreed to give you various conductor diameters in digital steps. Okay. These are known as standard wire gauge system, SWG, or American wire gauge system, AWG. Two systems are there. We'll come to all that when we go into transformers. But important thing is that thinner wires are necessary for voltage coil and thicker wires are necessary for current coil. The reading read by this arrangement is directly proportional to the real part of the complex power, which is what you are looking for. In case you want to measure reactive power, that is also possible. We'll come to that maybe later. This is how they look. Oh, sorry, this is another. Okay, this is the end of power meter discussion in this particular document. Energy meters or kWh meters are power meters where you don't put a torsion spring to control the deflection of the needle. Needle is connected to the moving coil. So if you don't put a counterbalancing torque on the needle, it will continuously rotate. The revolutions per minute or revolutions per second will indicate the power being consumed. This kind of energy meter you see in your homes all the time. There's a rotating coil inside, which is denoting the power being consumed. And then integration of that result over a given period of time gives you the energy consumed in kilowatt hour. Companies charge you money based on how many kilowatt hours you have consumed. They call it unit. I think it is costing around 8 rupees or so per unit right now in this part of the country. Digital energy meters have also come around. They convert the mechanical rotation of the coil into digital signals using mechanisms which are not shown here. And the signal is converted to digital signal using transducers, and then it is processed. And numbers are generated rather than rotation. All the rotation is happening still, but it is inside. You don't see it now. This is the construction of an energy meter conceptually. One pressure coil, one current coil, and in between a rotating. Actually, it's not a coil, it is a complete disc made of aluminum that is kept there to make things more, what should I say, reliable. Coil is very difficult to maintain. It's not easy to maintain circular shape of a coil when it is rotating. So a disc is used, thin disc made of aluminum. Instead of wires, we can have clamps coming out, which are very useful for industry. You simply clamp the meter across the two terminals where you want to measure energy, and then take the clamps off. No need to make permanent connections. Okay, current measurement we have already seen, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but current measurement obviously is simpler than voltage or power measurement. The other PPT which I want to show you is from a Japanese company. And I think it is worth going through it as much as possible. It's a very big PPT. Don't bother reading everything. We will only look at what we need to understand. Electrical power measurement has to be, of course, at 50 hertz or 60 hertz for sure, but it can also be required for other frequencies. And this company, Yokogawa, 100 years old company, it specializes in designing power meters and energy meters at all frequencies. For higher frequencies, the equipment looks even more complex than the energy meter you see in your homes. Okay, this is industry talk, name of the contact person, etc. This is the guy who made this PPT, American guy. Basically, what industry does is, when their engineers are working on practical designs, they forget basics most of the time. Simulation tools are there to help you out. This applies to mechanical engineering also, by the way. So industry, every year or so, they pull out all the engineers from their main job and put them through a training where fundamentals are explained again. And this PPT is actually meant for that purpose. But I think it is worth for us also to have a look at it quickly. A very important step in designing power measurement is sensing the power. Do you want to use thermocouple? That means thermal effects or something else, Hall effect, etc., etc. And after sensing, when you get the electrical signal out, then you process it, which is the rest of the story. Single phase versus three phase power measurements are also an important consideration. Okay, we'll come to that later in this PPT. First of all, most of these things you know already: power factor, true power. True power means capital P, which is the real part of complex power, S. This is the headquarters of this company in the US, in Georgia, Newman, Georgia. Okay. Someday you may be interested. The mechanical engineers are employed in this company in large numbers. I can tell you that. This is the map for getting there. Forget it. Let's review some basics. This is what I wanted to show you. Ohm's law. Various methods of looking at it. They are using the symbol capital E for voltage. We have been using capital V. Keep that in mind. W means watt, I means current, E means voltage, R means resistance. So wattage, that is real power, is either V into I or I square R or V square divided by R. Three different formulas. In AC circuits, I and V will become RMS values. For DC, that doesn't matter. Current is either V divided by R or W divided by V or square root of W divided by R. Voltage is either I into R or W divided by I or square root of W into R. I hope he's correct. I think he is. And similarly, resistance is either V divided by I or V square divided by wattage or W by I square. Okay. Now, power, I have been explaining to you in the past, can be instantaneous power or average power, or even they are talking RMS powers, etc. in this PPT. Although I did not want to bring that topic into the discussion, but they are aware of all that. Average power over a full cycle for a single phase system has a time dependent component and a constant component. Okay. Constant component is what creates most of heat and light. And here is a list of conversion factors. If you are interested, we have done some of these derivations already. Okay. Of course, this is, I think, meant for voltage and current signals, not for power. So if you want, you can keep this table. Otherwise, we have done these derivations, how to convert peak value into RMS value, etc., etc. Average value that they are talking about, I think, is over a half cycle. Because for a sinusoidal signal, average value over a full cycle is 0 for voltage and current. For power, it's not the same thing. This is how the signal looks like on the screen of a power meter. Peak to peak can be measured very easily. Other values can also be figured out. Enough signal processing is there inside the equipment. What is a watt? Once again, reminder, for DC source, watt is simply volt into ampere. For AC source, watt means volt in RMS value multiplied by ampere in RMS value multiplied by power factor. Power factor can be anything between 0 and 1. Maximum value is 1 and minimum is 0. Okay. Yeah, they are writing here VRMS into IRMS. He is calling it ARMS, fine. Complex power magnitude is known as apparent power. So it is simply VRMS into IRMS. The unit is kVA or VA. Unit for P is watt. And there's another thing called S. If you write in complex domain, it's P plus JQ. Q is the reactive power. It is measured in VA. Sorry, VAR or kVAR. Okay, I'll ignore this. Digital power analyzers are entirely electronic. We can imagine that, yes. This is the standard formula for average power. He should have been using small I on the right hand side because instantaneous values are involved, but fine, no issue. This is the formula they use inside the equipment for averaging. We have done all this. In my own notes, these things are there. My symbols are slightly different, yes. This is how wattmeter is connected. I have already shown in the other PPT also. It has got 3 connections coming out. 2 are connected in series with the load, and another pair is connected in parallel. Yeah, sensors. A large variety of sensors are available, and it is a topic of research even today. Company names are given, and I don't. Yeah, they're talking about Pearson Electronics and RAM meter shunts, Yokogawa current transformers, and so on. Don't bother too much about details, but remember that a lot of sensors are available, and they work on different theories. Selection of sensors, obviously, frequency range, accuracy. Sensor should not introduce any power factor in the circuit. As far as possible, the phase shift introduced by sensor should be 0. 1 or 2 degrees is allowed. In real life, you can never get 0 when you want 0. So they put a practical limit of how much is acceptable. Sensors can work on Hall effect also, on thermal considerations also, and so on. Okay, be aware of the bigger picture. No need to remember any of these things. Be aware that a large variety of sensors are available for power meters. Current transformers is something that we'll be talking about soon. Instead of stepping up voltage, they step up or step down currents. Okay. So there's a word of caution for practicing engineers. Secondary side should never be opened because you will get a big shock. This applies to voltage transformers also, by the way. Every day you see news items, transformers getting in trouble, fire or something like that. It happens only because somebody forgot to follow the procedures, maintenance procedures or operating procedures. Okay. An better or more accurate method for measuring power in a single phase circuit is using 2 watt meters. I will not talk about theories, but this essentially removes the uncertainty produced by contact resistance. At least remember that much. Details. For 3 phase systems, in theory, you can put 1 power meter in each phase and then total the result, which is fine. But somebody showed that you can do the same thing with 2 watt meters also. Because you know the phase relationship among the various voltages and currents in a 3 phase system. He took full advantage of that, and that person's name is Blondel. He came up with a theory saying 2 watt meters can do the same job. Especially in a delta system. Number of watt meters needed is number of wires in the system minus 1. He showed that. Again, I'm not going to go into theories because you don't need theories. You know that this method is available. That is more important for you as a mechanical engineer. If you don't use Blondel's transformation, then you will need 3 watt meters one in each phase, and the total of them will give you the total power. For a balanced system, all power meters will show the same value. But in real life, that is not the case. So you'll get different values in each power meter. Okay, so this is what I was telling you. Three-phase systems power can be measured using 2 watt meters. I have told you already. we will avoid theories here. Okay, you should be aware of the various methods. Now, power factor measurement is also a related topic. How do you measure power factor? One thing that you can do is measure the phase shift between voltage and current on something like a CRO, and then take cosine of it. That theory is involved everywhere. You know RLC circuit, etc. I'm not going to spend time on it. Here is a real world example. Voltage and current signals, both sinusoidal, but they have some phase difference between them. So your job is to figure out the phase difference and take cosine of it if you want to measure the power factor. Non-sinusoidal signals are also available, in fact, are the real life challenge. But generally they are periodic. So using Fourier series, you can break them up into a sum of fundamental, frequency, and harmonics. So the theories that we develop for sinusoidal or cosinusoidal signals remains valid for non-sinusoidal signals also, as long as they are periodic. So you basically see where voltage signal is crossing zero and where current signal is crossing zero next. The difference between these two will give you the phase difference between the two. This is how they measure using digital techniques. Power, they are calling it phasor diagram. I call it power diagram or power triangle. P, Q, and S. P is on the horizontal axis, Q is on the vertical axis, and square root of P square plus Q square is S, magnitude of complex power, which is VA. Q is measured in VAR, P is measured in watts. I've said this again and again. Power factor measurement, a lot of details. I want you to appreciate the bigger picture rather than going into each and every slide in detail. Power factor is essentially W divided by VA. That is another way of measuring it. It's a big PPT. Okay, I think. Forget pulse power. You will not need that most of the time in your life. Apparent power, I told you already. Okay. I think I'll stop this PPT. It's a very, very big one. Let me show you another one, which is my own. And that is on energy meters. It's a small PPT. So don't get too worried. Okay. Some of the things were already explained in the previous PPTs, and some of these slides have been borrowed from elsewhere. And for almost everything is taken from somewhere. The purpose of this PPT, which is I think 10 or 15 slides, is given here. Energy meter is a generalized power meter where you are multiplying power with time or integrating power over a certain period of time. This is how it looks like. This is a made in China sample. I think India is also producing these in large numbers nowadays. This is the construction. There is a disc, aluminum disc. Instead of a coil, we make a disc for mechanical reasons. There is a voltage coil, at least one, and there are two current coils. And in between, the disc rotates because of the torque generated on it and because of the fact that we are not putting a counterbalancing torque on the disc. So it continuously rotates. the gear ratio or the gear train is basically used to convert that rotation into numbers. That rotation is converted into a lower number, lower rotation, and things are measured from there. Magnetic brake is there to make sure that steady state is achieved. Otherwise, the disk will continuously try to increase its speed. So some counteracting braking mechanism is there, but not very large. That is all accounted for during calibration. Same thing shown in a different way. I'm sure you can read this. Energy is the product of power and time for which power is used. Okay. Well-known thing. We don't measure joules. We normally measure kWh. Yeah, this is a pictorial diagram of the same thing. Besides construction, which we have seen several times in this PPT, there's another very interesting topic related to this. First of all, the actual measurement is done using a gear train, which converts the rotation of the disk into smaller rotations or bigger rotations, depending on the design. Now, drawbacks of this construction is that with time, things change. The oils start having different behavior as aging occurs. Braking magnet also changes its behavior with time. Disk resistance, which is an indirect factor in figuring out the torque, that also starts changing with time. Moving parts start seeing more friction with time. So one method is to change the meter every 2 years or so, or at least get it maintained. Okay. There are adjustments given inside which mechanics play with to get the operation back to normal in many cases. Smart energy meters are also there right nowadays. They directly send the reading to the headquarters. Nobody has to come to your place to take the reading. Basically, it's wireless transmission of the data using a small antenna inside. It is getting more and more popular in several parts of the world. Smart energy meters basically avoid a lot of things which wear with time. So, like no rotation is there. Data is directly taken from the torque generated and converted to energy values. So friction goes away. Maintenance becomes less. Accuracy is better. Digital display works at lower currents also because no mechanical rotation is required. So lower currents can be handled using data sampling techniques, lower voltage also. Not easy for thieves to play with it because there's nothing to steal there really. Now, how companies charge money to you or to industry? There are several plans. You should be aware of all this. Simple tariff is simply how much energy you consume multiplied by 7 or 8 rupees. Simplest. For domestic customers, generally, that is the way. Okay. We'll read the name. We'll go through each one carefully. No, simple I think means a monthly charge. I'll come to it in a minute. Just read the names first. Yeah. Simple means fixed rate per unit of energy consumed. Yeah. So that's uniform. Simplest one. Yes, I was right. No change in the price, no matter how small your consumption is or how big your consumption is. This is not very economical for electricity boards or for power generating companies. Okay. So they have come up with other types of things also. Flat rate is what they charge depending on the kind of customers. This is more for industry, not for domestic customers. Some customers have poor power factor. That means they are wasting power. They are put in a different category. They are charged higher. Some customers have constant load. Some have load continuously varying. That is also a pain for companies or supplying companies. So they put them in a different category. Okay. The nature of application also may force companies to put some extra tariff. Tariff is the word used for the money charged. So depending on the class of the customer, a different tariff, although flat rate, but different flat rate can be applied. Block rate tariff. Basically, the more the customer consumes, the less is charged. Up to a certain value of consumption, a rate, more than that, little less rate, and more than that, even lesser rate, and so on. Again, all this is meant for industry, but you being mechanical engineers, you will be in industry. And this will be a serious issue for all companies. How much energy you are consumed, how much you are paying. Two-part tariff, it's a summation or it's a combination of previous methods. When the rate of electrical energy is charged on the basis of maximum demand of the consumer and the units consumed, it is called two-part tariff. In this type, the total charge to be made from the customer is split into two components. One fixed charge, which they have to pay anyway, and one running charge. These are negotiations basically that companies do with the electricity suppliers all the time. So each company or each customer has its own arrangement. Those who are consuming large powers obviously want to reduce charges. So for them, these kind of plans are worked out. Okay. Fixed charges plus running charges. You walk into any big company or any big manufacturer in Jaipur city or any city, you will find that one of their biggest obsession is how to minimize the payment to the electricity supply company. And these are the kind of solutions that electricity supply companies come up. Besides paying the salary to the employees, this is the second most important component in running a factory. Maximum demand tariff. Here, the charge is made based on maximum demand rather than breaking it into two parts. Some companies may agree to it. Fine. Power factor tariff. Companies are encouraged, the customers, are encouraged to make their power factor as high as possible. But that involves installing capacitors in parallel with the load, which will cost money. So a lot of companies simply want to avoid that solution. And if the electricity supply company comes to know that a lot of power is being wasted, they put extra tariff on them, extra charge, saying your power factor is below 0.9 or 0.8, you will have to pay so much more per month because of that. Either change your power factor to a higher value, or we'll charge you more. Three-part tariff is also there. Fixed charge, semi-fixed charge, and running charge. Fine. I guess it's possible. Financial guys get involved in all this anyway. Engineers also are there in the meetings, but it is the financial people, chartered accountants, who get into the game, especially from the customer side, because they have to balance the book, financially in running the company. So that's about it for energy and power meters.